Hey Shakers, and welcome to Worth Your Salt, the podcast that shakes up your marketing game in the health and wellness industry. Worth Your Salt is brought to you by Salt Marketing. Salt Marketing helps health and wellness practitioners build trust and authority to attract a steady stream of inbound wellness seekers. For more information, you can visit us online at saltmarketing.co. I'm Jennifer Orequa, StoryBrand Certified Guide, Marketing Strategist with Salt Marketing, and your host for today's episode of Worth Your Salt. Now, if you've ever thought about sharing your knowledge and leveraging your expertise to help more people and grow your authority, an online membership could be your next big step. Imagine having a platform where you can share valuable content, lessons, and services with your audience while building a community around your brand. In the highly competitive health and wellness space, providing exclusive access to your specialized knowledge and resources can really set you apart. So today, I'm honored to speak with Micah Mitchell, co-founder of Memberium. Micah has over 15 years of experience in automation and providing subject matter experts and entrepreneurs with the tools they need to build out powerful membership sites. His journey from starting a lawn care company to becoming a powerful resource for building membership sites is inspirational because Micah's expertise lies not only in creating powerful platforms like Memberium, but also in guiding entrepreneurs on how to navigate the complexities of running a successful online course or membership site. So get ready to level up the ways in which you help others as Micah shares his wisdom on building, managing, and growing a membership site in today's digital landscape. Micah, I could not be more thrilled that you're joining me today on Worth Your Salt. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm excited to be here.
So, Micah, I've been using Memberium for probably a decade, and I can easily say it has been exactly the tool that I needed at exactly the moment I needed it. But I'm curious about how we got here. Can you share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah. So as you kind of mentioned, the first company I started was a lawn care company. And if you back up a little bit from that, I had just, when I was younger, gotten married and was shopping for insurance, and my insurance agent gave me a book that had just come out, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Most people have heard of that by now, but it was brand new. And I read that and thought, I got to start a business. So I quit my job and started that lawn care company with really no idea what I was doing. And the kind of, silver lining to that is I bought Infusionsoft, which is now known as Keep, to manage that lawn care company. And so I was learning without really thinking about it, how to use that CRM. And when winter came around, my poor planning meant I had to switch gears. And so I started doing websites that were integrated with Infusionsoft Keep. And that, just because of client requests, those websites became more and more, hey, can you help me build a membership site? At first it was with Joomla, later WordPress. And then I went through some iterations of products until now you have Memberium. But it was kind of, by popular demand, once I kept redoing the same solutions, I kind of went from, I just do websites to I do websites for Infusionsoft to I do membership websites for Infusionsoft. And I might say Infusionsoft too much versus Keep.
That's okay. Yeah. We know what you mean.
Yeah. So that was kind of the progression of it. And then today, Memberium has thousands of membership sites that it powers. And those people are often selling access to courses, communities, ongoing live content, and just kind of managing their customer experience online because it's obviously a virtual business. And Memberium really helps the website itself be more intelligent. When somebody logs in, it knows who they are and kind of, what they need based on the rules that the administrator of the website is set up. And that obviously using the product. But yeah, that's kind of the short version is, I think it was a hot trend at the time. A lot of people were looking for it. And I was very lucky to be in the technology space there to fit into it. And then, about 10 years, Memberium's actually at its 10-year anniversary coming up in a few weeks. So this is kind of the middle of it.
Nice. So what really inspired you to build and start Memberium? I mean, what was missing in competing products where you saw an opportunity to serve your clients as well as maybe a larger community?
Yeah, what was missing at the time is there was a solution that I had actually initially helped kind of start and kick off, but it wasn't user friendly and the support was non-existent. And so after a while, certain clients, John Asraf among them, asking for a replacement product because I was doing some consulting for him at the time. And so co-founder David Bullock was the one who actually started building up Memberium. And then later on, we partnered up, for me to do the marketing and him to continue on the development. But it was again, client demand, them basically saying, hey, we're using this plugin, but it's buggy and we can't afford that. At the time they were doing these big kind of old fashioned launches where all of the commerce comes in at once. And if the site is down even for a few minutes at those spikes, it's a lot of money lost. And so it was worth it to replace it. And initially, I didn't think that it would have a big market as big as it has had. I kind of was just solving problems for existing clients. But when I started to see, okay, this could have legs, I pivoted all of my energy that I used to put into consulting. I pivoted into, okay, I've got to be a good software company. We've got to provide great support, great tutorials, and so on, and build a community around the software. So I switched skill sets into, I want to run a product, and build up the following of that product rather than just serve individual clients.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is kind of a big question, but with the experience you have in the field, 15 plus years, what have you learned about helping subject matter experts build their membership sites? How do they get the information out of their heads and into the platform?
Yeah, a couple of things I've learned. Different people are at kind of different stages in the process when I would run into them. Most of them, I feel like they were prolific in their ability to create content or answer questions. They were a true expert. They were the leader in whatever it was. And their real issue was often just kind of overwhelm and seeing the options and hearing people say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should build your business just like my business, and so on. And so I would usually come in and they would want to do a lot of things, and I would talk it through and say, okay, well, if you do, let's say, a big giant launch model and build 1 million pieces of content for people, here's what's likely going to happen. Versus, you might start here at this simple thing and kind of follow a more natural progression, because in hindsight, as I've interviewed a lot of these people, they really did start out basic. They might have started out with their iPhone shooting some videos, and it was the success of that early content that kind of led them to the next content. They didn't typically have some grand vision and build it out without sharing it, until it was finished, and then open the doors and all at once grand opening. That typically doesn't work. Those are the stories you hear about where they have regrets of, oh, I overbuilt and it was on the wrong premise or for the wrong market or whatever it happens to be. But that's the main thing I've noticed is people, they want to overbuild the site before selling it. And even after they've started selling, as soon as they start selling, if it's not working, they think, well, I need to change the product. I need to change, the content I'm creating in order for it to sell. When in reality, they probably did create something useful. Often it's based on real experience they've had, maybe providing services in that industry. So they know, okay, this is going to help people, and they build it. And then it's not selling. It's often a matter of just marketing and communication. How do you reposition the benefits of this to somebody, to buy it in this format? And where do you find those people and all of that? So often I'm kind of getting rid of the myths that they have in their head about what they should be doing. And then once we know what to build and we build it, then it's okay, now we got to get really serious about marketing.
Yeah, that's brilliant insight. It really is. And I think a lot of people fall into that trap. I'm even calculating my own mishaps in the past and thinking, he's really right. So on that note, we talk about the content itself, but what about the timing? At what point in our entrepreneurial journey should we start considering this kind of online resource? We want to share our expertise at scale. Is there a good time or a better time as far as where we are in our journey?
Yeah, great question, because it can definitely be a distraction if you're not ready for it. What I will say, though, is if you do the minimum version that you are ready for at any given time, usually it helps. And so let's say you're a somewhat new attorney, right? And you may think, well, who am I? I'm not the expert on this. Why should I create content, etc. But just by starting to create some content, you are growing yourself, right? Growing that skill set, but you're also positioning yourself, because when some random client comes along and sees that you have the course on whatever it is in your state or region, depending, then you're automatically a better candidate for them to hire for just regular old school legal work. So I feel like as a positioning tool, initially it can be helpful, but you just need to recognize it as such and not think, I'm going to create some content to become a millionaire, but simply this content is going to help my current practice. So for your health and wellness clients, whatever coaching, training that looks like, they could very easily go create something, and that is going to position them. Hey, I created the course on how to have a healthy back. So yes, you should hire me versus that other guy who says he can do it for less money. And you can extend that quite a bit. Obviously the more content you have and even the more followers and testimonials you get out of your coursework, it helps your consulting practice.
I love that. And just fantastic insight. And the idea that we really need to build content for the audience that we have, that if we're serving them, then that's probably what's going to hit the mark. All this almost makes me wish I had this benefit of this conversation years ago. But I'm going to take a quick sponsorship break right now. But when we come back, I want to talk about the specific steps and the things we need to think about before we start building out a membership site or an online course.
The Worth Your Salt podcast is grateful to our partners and sponsors, including Keep. Keep CRM provides sales and marketing automation for health and wellness businesses allowing you to organize everything. With Keep, your new leads get personalized interaction from you without it taking up your time. Once those leads become clients, Keep CRM creates a frictionless customer journey at a level that makes your clients say,
"You just get me."
Trustworthiness, dependability, and expertise are what matters to consumers in health and wellness, and 44% of them say they won't buy if you don't follow up quickly. Much more than just another email platform, Keep provides the marketing, sales, e-commerce, and customer lifecycle tools you need to create strong relationships. As your Keep certified partner, the Salt Marketing team will guide you to the Keep CRM solution that works for you. Download your copy of Keep's comprehensive guide to lifecycle marketing at saltmarketing.co/keep. That's saltmarketing.co/KEAP to get the peace of mind that comes from an organized, personalized, automated workflow.
I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Micah Mitchell, co-founder of Memberium. And so, Micah, how could building out an online course or membership program kind of amplify our ability to reach and impact a larger audience compared to the traditional one-on-one work that most wellness entrepreneurs are doing?
Yeah, I think a lot of conversations you might have one-on-one, you know that they could apply to multiple customers in the future, right? And of course, you might tailor it to the person. But I think when you go and create content, let's call it generic content, somewhat generic, and you put it out there, it actually amplifies your ability to help even that one customer, because instead of them paying a premium for your time, they can go do quite a bit of the learning that you would have given them in person and then come to you really just for the questions that are unique to them. And that can get them a lot more impact, the end user, for the same amount of money, because you've now, leveraged, created these videos. And then obviously the wider impact of creating videos, you can share that with an audience of 1,000. And what I've seen, enough times that I feel like it's just part of this game, is that somebody who does create something really good, they can bump into somebody else who has that audience, who says, "Oh, really? You've created that solution? Well, my market would love that. Come on, let me interview you. Let me promote it." Maybe there is even revenue sharing there. But what I'm saying is, as far as extending your impact, it starts to get pretty crazy. Once you've duplicated yourself, created a little, let's say, robot version of yourself that lives online, they can help as many people as you would like.
I love that. So when we're thinking about the steps we should take, we're conceptualizing, planning an online membership, what makes for great content?
Ooh, great question. So sometimes some of the content exists out there already. Like, let's say on any subject, 75% of it might exist on YouTube. I would say filling in those unique gaps. And again, if you're consulting, you really know what people are struggling with. Like some of the models I've created, I would have never created just out of my head trying to be creative and think about what people want. It was from being faced with a real issue. Like, okay, here's a problem. And like you come up with a solution on the spot and then realize, oh, this is applicable elsewhere. So I think that sort of thing comes up. I think if you're trying to be intellectual about it, let's say, then I like to just go basically high chunk to low chunk as far as, okay, here's my subject. Let's break it into 3: beginning, intermediate, advanced. And then let's take the beginner and break that into 3, getting started, getting traction, seeing results, or whatever, right? And I just kind of break it down like that and then start at the beginning as if I had an actual client there who I'm trying to help. And of course, some of the things I'm saying generically are going to miss the mark for any individual. But, that's my approach. If I'm not working directly with a client and I'm not sure, then like I said, I high chunk to low chunk. And when I feel like the chunks are small enough that I can create a video about that's, let's say, less than 5 minutes, preferably even shorter than 3, then I'll get on and start riffing, creating a video. And I like to create a lot of bad versions. So instead of let me get it right and then I'll create it, it's more like, okay, let me just flip on the camera, even though I hope nobody ever sees this, right? I look, not presentable. And that usually gets kind of the ball rolling. And I'll say the kind of motivation or the thought process maybe behind that. So that might seem oversimplified, like, break up your subject matter.
And what you said about, it goes back to the old adage of done is better than perfect, trying it, seeing how it looks, seeing how it feels, and going back and iterating off of that. I think that's really great advice. But talking about that intentionality that you mentioned, how can we think ahead to the user experience? I'm thinking a lot here about all the features in Memberium, like levels and creating premium content, that sort of a thing. How can we make sure that the user experience is what we want it to be?
Yeah, let's start with an easy case and say we're creating a user experience for a beginner on our topic, whatever it is. We want health and wellness. Let's say it's somebody who's, in their 40s, they're overweight, they're not, their habits are off, and they've decided to get their act together, right? And so they're coming in for training. I think what makes a good user experience is, let's say you think about maybe a 5-star hotel. There's a lobby. In a membership site context, that might be the membership homepage, or kind of the first page they see when they get in. Even the login page before they go into the site. Is that a nice entrance, like a nice, Ritz-Carlton or whatever hotel? I've talked to a lot of clients, basically done case studies where I'm asking them about their site and their success. And it's come up as a recurring theme that people will view their site as a physical structure, like a house. Okay, I'm gonna walk up to the porch. I'm gonna walk in the living room. Do I take the stairs up? Do I take them down? Do I go left? Do I go right? And so on. That is a nice way to think about it, at least to get it out of just, okay, what pages am I going to create? What templates am I going to use? And so on. You kind of think, okay, here's this person. You can picture an actual person, maybe a client you've had, and they're sitting at their desk. What have they got on their desk? Maybe they've got a plate of food or whatever, and they're trying to log into this site, right? You immediately start thinking like, it's so easy for them to not do this, for them to just turn it off and go watch TV or cancel and refund, let's say. But if you really think about, I forget which copywriter, but they said, you've got to picture your client as like a 500-pound person who's not left the house in months, and you have to convince them to get up and leave their house and go to the store and buy your product, right? I think it's the same approach when you're trying to convince them to consume your content. They've already bought, they gave you their money. You could just be like, here it is, buy. But if you actually think of it as, okay, now the real part of this happens. The sale was the easy part. Getting the person a result is the difficult part. One of the amazing things is most membership sites have a high percentage of their buyers who never log in. And so over the years, we've put a lot of effort into a login campaign, which is essentially whenever somebody becomes a new member, we're going to keep sending them emails just to get them to log in until they log in. We're not going to give up. And then once they've logged in, then we say, okay, here's video 2. What some sites do is they'll say, okay, you're a member, great. And then just start the drip, video 1, video 2, video 3, whatever version of that somebody has. The person will have never logged in. And I even went through this myself. Recently, I bought a program from somebody I like, and they had sent me one email to log in and I missed it. And 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, well, I paid a lot for this program and I haven't heard from them. What's going on, essentially, in a simple little, hey, we noticed you haven't been into the membership site. You got to go see what's available for you in there. I think the best way to leverage technology is basically assume that they're going to fall off at every single step. Assume that even if they click the login link to go to the login page, they may not get logged in. And then when they log in, assume they're going to get lost on the homepage. And then based on that assumption, now you create a system that says, okay, if they log in and they go to the homepage, but they don't consume module 1, there's a whole campaign just to remind them of the benefits of consuming module 1 and remotivate them. One thing you can do at the beginning of the process that I think is very helpful is just get them to set some goals. So they say, I want to make X dollars or lose X pounds or whatever it is. And then you can send that back to them by email, by text, even in those calls. Hey, I know you joined the program to do X. How's that going? What can I help you with? Let's make sure you achieve that result. Here's, it seems like you're having a hard time getting started. So here's a bonus quick start video that kind of, puts it into context for people who are tight on time, for example, and not making the user feel bad when I say push them, but be there for them no matter what. Now, if the reverse is true and they haven't heard from you because they didn't engage, they're going to think, this is terrible. I should get my money back, or cancel or whatever.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about the interaction that people are looking for. They're looking for someone to care. And I love what you said about having them set their goals, because then we're not just talking about our intentionality around the content and the membership, but we're talking about their intentionality. Like, you bought for this reason. I want you to remember why, and I want you to come back and consume this content. Brilliant advice. I love it. All right, Micah, it's time for another quick break. We're going to be right back after this. Hey, Salt Nation, you're listening to the Worth Your Salt podcast. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, and today I'm talking with Micah Mitchell about how you can scale for profit by sharing your knowledge in an online course or membership. We'd love to hear your thoughts on reaching a larger market with your expertise, so be sure to join Salt Marketing over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and let us know your thoughts on developing online resources. So, Micah, building out a membership site or course, it can be daunting for someone who's not even sure where to start. So, what advice do you have for health and wellness practitioners who might feel overwhelmed, unsure? How can they stay motivated and focused and build their course?
I would recommend, as far as motivation goes, if you think of what your client will not get. So let's say that same example from earlier of someone who is out of shape, overweight, has health problems. They're going to some sort of health coach. If you think about, well, what's going to happen to this person if I don't get them to achieve a change and a result and whatever, and what's going to happen to this person's kids or family, their whole structure. I feel like that can be very motivating to realize, yeah, if I don't do this, a lot of bad things are going to happen. Not just the good that could be, but avoiding the bad can be kind of motivating there.
You talked about how we might just do it dirty, like get that first draft out there. How can they stay motivated beyond that first draft? Yeah,
great question. And I'll be honest and say there are times when I've started with great motivation and it's kind of fallen off. So for example, and other people I know have even recently shared a similar story where you kind of have that motivation, you build the thing, big creation burst, and you don't get as many sales as you expected. And so you kind of think, oh, well, maybe that didn't work as well, whatever. And you kind of walk away and leave it alone. But what often happens with these is you'll come in later and realize, oh, sales have been trickling in, and over, several months or a year or whatever, now the ROI on that time I spent is really there. And that can often motivate you. So I'd say even if you build something small and there's whatever comes up to make you less motivated, distraction, lack of sales, didn't get the impact you want, the fact that you built it and it's there and automated. And so, I say build it and leave it there. As far as there's content, people can opt in for it or buy it and consume it. And, go do whatever else for a minute even. You'll come back and you'll realize, oh, that was some of the best time I've ever spent building that content. The long-term leverage of what I did is there, even if I didn't see it at first. That can be very motivating. As far as, to kind of the core of your question, really, I think what's most motivating is doing the right things at the right time. Because if you go on a content building binge and you're overbuilding your membership site and so on, and you're not selling it, yeah, you can burn out on building and creation. Creative energy, I think, is finite, and it can burn out or it can come in phases or whatever. But if you do the creation phase and then you switch to the sales phase, it's kind of a different kind of creation, different challenge. And then switch to the retention phase, which is now you're saying, okay, I've created something, I've got sales coming in. Now, how do I get people to stay here? Either recurring transactions or buy more stuff, basically continue a financial engagement with the company. And then once you've solved that problem, okay, I've got people coming in, I've got them staying. Then the next thing is to ascend people to say, okay, let me create higher level products for them to ascend to. And to give just a quick glimpse into what that model looks like, you should be building your minimum viable product until you can get at least 10 people. And then you should be focused on selling it until you're over 100. And then you should be focused on retaining people into it. Like once your sales engine can get you at least 100, then focus on keeping those people until the volume of it is over 1,000. And then once you're over 1,000 people, then you can focus on building bigger, higher level products and programs. Most people's frustration is, like I said, if they overbuild in the early stage and they have nobody to sell it to, then they've hurt themselves almost by over investing in, product when they should have been investing in marketing to eventually build product for. But that's my basic outlook is, until 10 members build, until 100 sell, until 1,000 retain, over 1,000 ascend.
I hope everybody wrote that down. That was a brilliant nugget right there. And I know you shared with me that you are creating a new tool, ScaleMember, to help content creators sort of map out these ideas in a way that makes sense online. So what inspired that? How did you get started with that?
Yeah, thanks. I did shut myself off sometime this past summer and just, try to think about, okay, let me approach content from a different angle. Instead of let me create videos, which I'd always done in the past, like here's a PowerPoint and let me tell you things. I wanted to create tools. And so the first kind of version of that, which you saw, was me sitting down with an Excel workbook and trying to map some information that most membership site owners have to think about into it. And so that's what I tried to create, is saying, okay, I've got some ideas and models for membership sites. Now, if somebody comes in and they interact with this tool, put in some of their information, they start to see, oh, okay, Now, instead of my information business or membership site being a kind of a jumble in my head, it's more clear out there in this sheet. But that's what that tool is. And for example, getting somebody to map out how their customer goes through their content and then look at, okay, now which slices of that journey are your different products? What makes sense? How should you bundle and package the knowledge you could deliver so that somebody coming in can start at an easy point, get some wins, engage further, and so on.
And from what I saw of ScaleMember, it just brings so much clarity. It just everything seems crystal clear right at that moment. I'm wondering, you've been at this for quite a while. How do you envision the future of online content like this evolving, so paid content? And what role do you see Memberium playing in shaping that future? Yeah,
I think obviously VR and AR is going to be a bigger part of the future, but it's not that much different than the website you have today. So somebody's with an internet connection accessing your content, I think it'll be the same. If they're, let's say, wearing an Oculus or an Apple Vision headset, right? That headset might still go to an area where somebody's created let's say a virtual reality, training dojo for whatever it is. You're going to pay access to get in there. You're going to go in and do your thing. So I see moving in that direction. And for example, a lot of the online content used to be just written, right? Get this PDF, get this ebook, get this white paper, get this report. That used to hold real value. And then once the bandwidth opened up to have videos, same sites, same people, the same people who used to ship physical newsletters are now putting videos online, and soon they'll be creating virtual reality resources. So I think the same underlying content structure, for example, or I should say technology structure, for example, WordPress is a big blogging platform, but then those blogs added videos. And soon I think those blogs are going to add, basically VR, where you can tap into those files that they have created. From a business perspective, it's definitely moved from here's your content, don't talk to me, to a nice blending of you have the content, you have the community where maybe people have to have consumed a certain minimum amount of content to get into the community so that the conversation in there is at least on point and at a level. And you also have the coaching. You have these ongoing calls, potentially one-on-ones, even with the content creator. And there's a lot of strategies for how to do that without, using too much of your time or getting abused or burning out. But it's already blended into like a full service delivery rather than just here's your content. And I think the people who use AI to do a better job of that, for example, I have a library of content that can help this type of user. This user comes in and they give me some of their, biometric data, and they answer some questions about their, feelings and goals and whatever. That goes into AI and says, okay, hey user, we have 1,000 pieces of content we could have given you, but since you're here, here's exactly where you should start. And the moment you're done with that, here's the next. Take a quick quiz. We incorporate that. Here's the next. And that used to be too hard with like where you'd actually have to go in and program in all that logic. But I believe already you can kind of do this. And then of course, as we go forward, it will just become easier to use AI to almost make the person feel like they are getting a custom experience. So if you as the content creator can build up your library and then give AI access to that to act on your behalf with the user, it's almost like you're helping that user.
That's so exciting. The idea of being able to tailor an experience specifically to what that user needs and really leaning into the user experience, that to me, that's where the magic happens. I love that. So I know you have a lot of resources available. If the audience wants to know more about you, about Memberium, where can they go?
Yeah. So Memberium is a WordPress plugin, right? It may not apply to everybody, but it's a WordPress membership plugin. You can go to memberium.com, memberium.com. And then if you're just more generally interested in, learning more about how you should approach your membership or information business or courses, kind of influencer aspect, I would go to growyourmembershipnow.com, and there's a free training there. And after the free training, if they finish the training, they can book a call with me and happy to answer any questions.
So it links to everything that Micah mentioned, including a link to download Micah's guide to the mistakes that new membership site owners often make. Will be available on our website at saltmarketing.co/Memberium. But right now, Micah, it is time for our lightning round questions. These are a few quick questions that I like to ask of every guest. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. First question is, what's something about you that surprises people?
I guess when we hang out in person, they realize that even though I'm trying to teach technical information, I definitely like to hang out and party and get crazy and just have fun. being, I think, cooped up online all the time. Go to an event, it's like, yeah, let's go have fun.
Your inner extrovert comes out,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
All right. Next question. What's your favorite thing about the work that you do?
Getting to meet really awesome people who they only started down this path to me because they are already experts. And so they typically share kind of their nuggets. I get to interact with some of the coolest people and get their, okay, boil your whole knowledge down into 5 minutes so I understand you enough to help you with your membership site, and just get these really cool conversations.
Yeah, I'll bet. All right. So on that note, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I think it was when one of my friends, his name is Lee, told me to trust my gut. At the time, he had sold a company and I was kind of getting started, and I was like, hey man, give me some advice. Tell me how to be better. And he said, always trust your gut, no matter what. Even if it seems crazy, do whatever your gut says. You'll always be happy that you followed your gut. And I found that to be true.
Very nice. So last question, who or what inspires you?
My kids definitely inspire me. I've got 3 boys, 19, 16, and 11. And seeing them, just how much smarter and better they are than me, gives me some hope for the future of humanity,
I love that. Micah, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Worth Your Salt.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I also want to thank our listeners and let you know that if you're ready for your Worth Your Salt debut, tell us about your expertise by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. Be sure to subscribe on our website so you never miss an episode. And finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up.